emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. The Center for Disease Control is reporting the outbreak of a new virus strain that is causing the infected to become extremely vicious and to exhibit cannibalistic tendencies. As of this broadcast, there is no known cure for the blood-borne virus. In order to keep you and your family safe, the CDC is advising that you stay in your homes and lock all doors, lock all windows, and barricade any point of entry. Be calm and listen to the radio or TV for official news updates. Again, stay indoors and maintain protective measures until notified by the media or public safety. Stay tuned for further instructions.
The applause, they love you. Didn't even get on stage yet.
And CJ Graham too.
This will be fun. They bust you.
You're my favorite Jason. Until I announce it. All right, so the next Jason. Okay, from part 4, Ted White, please.
Ted White, I thought he was dead. Ted White, where is he? Didn't I go to his funeral last year, Kane?
You're not showering?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey.
From part 5, Tom Morga. He's in the audience tonight.
I have no idea what
He decided to mingle. CJ Graham. Is Ken Kirzinger here?
No, kidding.
That guy that's just sitting down, we knew him?
Okay, then I'm going to save the seat next to me for the man who has portrayed Jason more than anyone else. The man that Steve Dash does not like. That's why we're sitting together. Mr. Kane Hodder. Okay, now the panel can begin. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand, stand up, speak loud. I will repeat the question and try to make sure everybody can hear as much as we
Yeah,
can.
what the guy
We
out?
want to get out of here in an hour, so make it fucking quick.
Mr.
As you can see, we're going to do this in an hour. All right, so here's the first question. Make sure it's a good one. And about Steve Dash. Go ahead.
Thank you, first of all, so much for being here this weekend. This is totally amazing. Y'all rock. We love all of you. Steve, we love everybody.
I'm glad you do.
Okay. So now, let me try to figure this out. Steve, for you were the first one who played Jason as an adult.
Yeah, the real Jason.
So there's like actually nothing to look back on, like when you first played that role.
Right.
To refer to. So when you decided like Jason's mannerism,
Right.
his character, you had to build that all on your own.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so I want to know how you did that.
I have fantastic talent.
I love it.
And very humble, as you can see.
So the question was, Steve, you're great. How did you come up with Jason?
say all this? 'Cause it's really getting old.
I had nothing to work with. All I had was some kid that came out of the lake. Who the fuck was that? I mean, this is what I had to go by. You know what I mean?
And everybody else, when you got the role as Jason, what did you do, like looking back at like previous Jasons? Did you play upon those characters and build on that, or did you come up with something completely on your own when you created your Jason? And Kane and Lance,
They all acted like I did. They didn't know what the fuck they were
So I'll answer the question.
Oh,
I
shit.
didn't. The first thing I did was not pay attention to part 2.
Well, that's unanimous, I think.
Eat me.
To be fair, since he didn't wear a hockey mask, I actually took a look at Richard and Tom and the man over here, the ultimate Jason at 90-something, right? Mr. White. Straight up answer. Well, don't look at each other. Someone jump in.
I already did my thing. I'm done.
The question was, what did you guys look upon for inspiration to play Jason? Did you look back, or did you kind of put your own spin on it?
All right, I can't wait
For
till
me,
Kane's
I went to an interview for the director, and he and the stunt coordinator told me what to do, and I take pretty good direction because I got part.
He's part 4.
And I was a horror fan for many years before I was ever in the position to play the character. Once I officially got the job, I went back and watched all the movies again, just to see what I liked, certain little mannerisms that I thought worked and stuff, and kind of, formulated my idea of the character. And, Tom and I have been stuntmen for quite a while, but Ted is a legend in the stunt business.
Yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen, Kane Kirzinger. That's okay.
And for, playing the character myself, I wanted to do justice to all the previous performers because I think they all did their thing very well, and I just wanted to kind of look at that and then create my own, and that's how I did it.
Ted, did you want to answer? What did you go off for inspiration to play Jason?
I never had any kind of an inspiration to play the guy. Well, it's the truth. When I went in, I read for the part of a policeman. And they said, Ted, we'll let you know in a few minutes. And I went out in the aisle and sat down and waited. And about 10 minutes, they called me back and said, well, you got the part. And I said, the policeman? They said, no, part of Jason. And I said, well, I got a couple of kids, and they've got kids, and they'd rather not see their grandfather killing these people left and right. And I better pass on it and just not take it. But thank you for telling me, and I appreciate the opportunity to take the job. And I left. I got home, and the prop guy lived about 2 blocks from me, and he called, and he said, I hear you at the studio today. And I said, yeah. He said, did you get the job? And I said, well, no, I didn't get the job. He offered it to me. He said, which job? And I said, to play Jason. He said, well, what happened? I said, I turned it down. And he said, Ted, you're crazy. He said, that's a great job. He said, everybody in the country knows this guy. And I said, yeah, but for killing people, and that's it. So I really didn't think any more about it, and I wasn't working. So the next, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours passed, and the prop guy called me back and he said, listen, if you touch the part of Jason, you're going to be on hold for 6 weeks because they got to make the body cast from your ankles up to your chin. And when you're on the bike, when you're on hold in Los Angeles, you're on full pay. I said, are you kidding me? 6 weeks? You all understand the greed, don't you? Well, I did the same thing. I picked up the phone. I said, you know what? I've been giving a lot of thought. I'd like to do that guy. Anyway, that's how I got the part of Jason. And I want to tell you what, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. And I'm not saying it in a braggadocious way. I've done some movies with the biggest stars of Hollywood. We'll start with Clark Gable and John Wayne and Victor Mature and Rod Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor, and we'll go all the way down the list if you want to. But in all these years, and there's been 60 of them that I did that, I've never, ever in my lifetime met a group of people who are so together about what they love and what they like, and they're sitting right here tonight.
It basically was, did you look back or have any inspiration when you portrayed Jason?
Well, I remember talking to Ronnie Yu about it and asking, because I've seen all the various Jasons and stuff over the years. And I said, how do you see him? How do you want to portray him? He was very specific about how he wanted Jason to move and to move very, very slowly until he did something. So Ronnie had a very clear picture of exactly what he wanted to see, and so I said, yes, sir, whatever you need.
Great.
I have a question. Does anyone, or who can say it
You're not
first?
supposed to ask questions, you dumb bastard. That's
Oh, I knew that was
okay. Jesus
coming.
Christ almighty.
Who can tell me first what was the first scene I ever did with Ken? Yes. He was a chef in the cafe that I broke through the door and threw him against the mirror, and he ended up playing the character not long after that. So that's interesting right there. Connection.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, what the fuck? You said I couldn't ask any questions.
Go ahead. No, I don't think you have questions.
Doesn't it suck to get cranky and
You
old?
just moderate. Don't worry about what we're doing over here.
We got 45 minutes left.
Hey, Ken, I need a guy about 8 feet 3. Can you beat the shit out of this guy?
What's up?
Yes, go ahead. Just snap. Yep.
How old were you in your prime when you were ready to play Jason?
I'm still in my prime, fuckhead.
So sit your scrawny ass down. You're done.
Who would win that fight?
You're right. Sit down, buddy.
That's a quick answer and not a joke. If all of us were to battle each other, Ted White would beat our asses.
Me too over here. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
He respects his towards you.
Speak up.
Stop it. I go to my page.
So that's the question was, they've all had their own moments in the roles that they played, but was there ever a role as Jason that they didn't play that they would like to? They could kill or whatever.
Was there others besides part 6? I apologize, I missed that.
I
Go ahead, Steve. I know you got an answer.
No, I'm sitting there with my finger in my ass. I don't know how to answer that question. All right, what's the answer then?
My answer is that I always liked the very opening of part 6, where CJ had all the bugs and shit on him, because I was inspired by that scene when I did a movie shortly after that called Prison. And thinking of that scene, and I hope it was you that did it, see, I guess, no? Yes. And because of that, I added something to a character called Forsyth in a movie called Prison. John Beekler was doing my effects. I did full body makeup, and I put night crawlers, live night crawlers in my mouth for the scene, because I was a rotted corpse and I had to scream, and I thought worms coming out of my fucking mouth would look pretty good. So I was inspired by that. That was one of the scenes that impressed John Beekler, who was doing the makeup effects on Prison, to try to cast me as Jason in part 7. So you doing a good scene in part 6 may have backfired on you there.
Anybody else? Anybody else have anything to add?
I forgot the question already.
Okay, so we'll move on. Okay, yes, go ahead. Yep, little man. Are you looking at me? Was it fun to be Jason? Anybody? Was it fun to be Jason?
No, I hate it. I didn't like it at all. I don't want to sit here tonight.
Tell them about your eye. Tell them about your shoes.
I gotta sit with all these jerky guys up here. It's really tough, you know what I mean?
So yes, he did have fun playing Jason. That's just his way of saying it. I think we all like playing Jason for a privilege.
They're funny together. Yeah.
Wait a minute, I got something else I want to say about that.
Oh, good.
Wait a minute.
Can't wait.
Lady, stand up for a minute. Stand up, lady.
Lady?
Yes. Lady, sit down. No, I got to tell you about the Jason thing. You know, when these guys had when they did the Jason, they knew there was a Jason. I didn't know there was a Jason. See, when I got the job, the name of there was a working title on Friday the 13th Part 2. You can sit down. Sit down. We'll get back to you in a half hour. How you doing, Dave? All right? Good. Best promoter in the world, Dave Hagen, who runs this show. Right there. Mr. Dave Hagen. That's so you get me back next year. Little suck up, you know.
That's huge.
No, when I got the job, though, you have to remember that the working title of the film wasn't Friday the 13th Part 2. It was Jason. And I got a call, you know, and from Paul Cunningham, who was stunt coordinator, he said, listen, I got this job up here in Connecticut. This guy was playing Jason, and they're going to fire him because he can't do his stunts. So I'd really like you to come up and take the job. I said, what's the name of the film? He says, Jason. I said, what do you want me to do? He says, you're going to be Jason. I said, no shit. I got to leave rolling the film. Then I find out I got no lines, I got a bag over my head, and I ain't going to be on the Johnny Carson show. So I didn't know what the hell, you know, they say, get the bag. I said, what's the bag? He said, they're going to cover your head. How the hell did I know they were doing that? And then they gave me shoes that didn't fit, and I had to put them on because they had to match the shit that they had going on in the movie, and I squeezed my feet in there because I needed the money. And my happiest day on the film was Friday when I got paid. And that's how I got the job, but I figured it all out myself. You know, I was, you know, limping along and chasing and getting kicked in the nuts, breaking my ribs. And no, these guys, they didn't do their own stunts, maybe Kane.
Yes.
I thought you were a pussy, I didn't know. I know Ted did his own stunts. Right, Kane? You did your own stunts? You did your own stunts?
I think I did.
CJ, I know you did yours. Tom Morga, gotta have a lot of respect for him. He's done a lot of films, a lot of stunts. Let that be nice to the guy. You know?
I like that.
And you don't say shit down the end of it.
Well,
I let you go
all my talking.
He says, I gotta be here, I'll be here. What I gotta do?
I did every stunt in part 7. Every stunt in Jason Goes to Hell, every stunt in Jason X. But there was one stunt that in Jason Takes Manhattan that they would not allow me to do. And it's one I had done before, but they were worried if I busted my knee or something that it would affect the shooting. So a lot of you probably already know this, but Ken doubled me in that movie getting hit by the police car. And so I guess I can't say accurately that I always did all my own stunts, but he did that one in that movie, but all the other ones I did. At the time, in part 7, the fire stunt I did was the longest anyone had ever been on fire in one take, so that was kind of cool at the time.
Let this lady ask her question. Get up, lady. Lady, get up, lady. What's your question?
Other characters like Freddy. Freddy, like location or other character you want for Jason to team up with if you were doing a movie?
No.
Michael. Jason and Michael together beating the fuck out of Freddy. Leather stain.
Actually, Robert Aikman and I have been talking about a project where we would bring a fan in, where it would be like Freddy versus Jason versus, well, a fan. So you got this, you know, the outcast kid who gets bullied all the time, but he's an aficionado on Freddy and Jason, and you know, all the scrapbooks and everything. And he figures out one day, well, they started out as like mere mortals, and now they're these, you know, immortal killing machines. And he goes on a quest to find out how that happened. And we think that'd be very cool to bring a fan in as a third for a movie.
And I want to take on Kane.
So she then said, what about Jason versus Jason?
I just said that. I want to take on Kane.
There you go.
I want to go again.
Jason X comes to Earth in a time travel. Yeah.
That guy, yeah.
There's songs where Freddy versus Jason versus Ash was in order right after Freddy versus Jason. Now there's
I like him. He's a nice person.
Campbell denied it, but then there's an interview with Campbell that said he accepted it.
I don't get why there's no It's funny.
The question was in reference to Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
When we finished Freddy vs. Jason, and it had just come out, the producers came to Robert England and I and said, we want to get Ronnie, you, Robert, and myself together and do Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash. And you know, we all said we were on board. And then time went by, and we just stopped hearing about it. And the comic book came out, but we have not heard anything since.
We'll go all the way in the back, yeah. Not you, yeah. Yeah?
With the recent video game release, how do you guys feel about video game reaching new generation fans in different media?
I didn't even hear you. I'm sorry.
The question is, with the video coming out, how do we feel about the new generation coming out with the new platforms of how it's attracting new media? Is that fair? New generation?
Yeah,
That
the
good?
new video game.
Yep.
The new video game.
Kane kicked his butt on that and took care of business, but I'll be honest, that's that next generation, and for those of you that are sincerely under 20, I mean, going back to Ted's comment, you know, who knew 35 years ago that we'd be sitting in front of 400 or 500 people right now?
37 years.
Talking. And that's just the old people, that's just us young people. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we appreciate it. I mean, it's just been a roller coaster ride. You know, we got action figures, who knew, you know? It's just been an amazing ride.
Can I just say something about doing the video game?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did the motion capture for the video game, as you know, but thanks. while doing that, they were telling me, no, you know, at some point you're going to be able to play as different Jasons. Because when we started the game, I thought it was just going to be Part 7 version. Then they started getting, you know, more backing and more success and all that, and they started saying you're going to be able to play as quite a few different Jasons. So, being as I was doing the motion capture for all Jasons that they were using, I had to once again check out everybody's performance of the Jasons that they were going to use and try and, you know, put a little of their flavor that they put in the character into the video game. And the main one that was odd for me, because you probably know I never ran as Jason because I didn't think it worked. For the Jason movies that I did, I thought running just didn't work. So I had to, you were going to be able to play as Part 3 Jason, and Richard Brooker ran. So I had to, even though I'm wearing spandex and don't look very scary, or maybe I did because of that, but I had to do a lot of scenes kind of out of what I thought the realm of Jason should be. But you're playing as someone else's version, Part 6, you know, Part 4. So I tried to incorporate, even if it was just in my mind, I tried to incorporate different attitudes that they may have had. And hopefully it comes across, but you know, I don't know.
Friday 13th.
It does. I mean, everybody, has everybody raised your hand and played the game? Guys love it. Double XP this weekend too. Okay. This young lady right here. Yep. Which Jason killed the most people?
Oh, Tom.
I got 18.
Hands down,
you got
22
per
kills.
movie, not in totality.
Well, let's talk about total kills.
So the narrative just changed, right?
Tom Morga.
I had 18. I don't know the answer to everybody else.
I think that may be the most in one movie, actually. I think it is. CJ had the most kills in one single film.
Now, in total, as Kane would say, what is the total count?
Oh, I don't remember. Somebody must know, right? How many kills I've done as Jason? Huh? No, it has to be only hands-on kills.
Well, what they're talking about is how many kills they had in a movie. What I'm talking about is you can't even put the number together, not in a movie.
22 people.
Now, most of you guys didn't get it.
There's a slow reaction there.
Yes. Yep. All right. So favorite kills for each guy.
Ken, you want to start?
Well, because I was the first and this part 2 on time.
Steve, go ahead. We'll start on your end.
Wheelchair down the stairs backwards. Not a bang against a tree, not under the freaking water. Wheelchair down the stairs backwards. Big stunt. Took a lot of time to set it up. It took us a week to set it up. We had to fix the wheelchair. It was a big, listen, it was a big stunt.
Oh, that was great.
To go down the
That was fucking
stairs
awesome.
backwards in the freaking rain.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great kill.
Wheelchair down the stairs backwards.
I broke the sheriff's back and it took about 20 minutes. We saved on the budget. Yeah.
Okay,
I had them in order, but
Yeah.
I went in order. I'm 2. I'm the first guy.
Downstairs, backwards. The kill of the bed, because you know, everybody would expect Jason to go in and stab the kid a million times, blood everywhere, but nobody expected the bed to get.
That was great. That sounded like Freddy vs. Jason where he stabbed the shit out of him and collapses the bed in half.
Tom, go ahead.
That was great.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a favorite kill. I like doing them all.
It's gotta be the part 5.
Okay, so just for fun.
Get through the,
Yes, it was. You were finished.
He's like the Ted White. That's the John Wayne.
Ted McWilliams, have some goddamn respect. He's 92 years old. If he don't answer, they might die. Let him answer. Go ahead, Ted. Go ahead.
I don't have a favorite kill. I mean, I guess there are favorite kills and people get enthused about it.
Crispin Glover. Yeah.
Christian
Oh,
Glover.
par 4.
That's a good one.
I don't even know who he is.
Remember that? That's a corkscrew.
Let me tell you something. When you start picking out one person or one killer and saying that's my favorite, you've gone a little bit too far. You better be
Time to rewatch all
telling the
nine.
truth. Go ahead.
Now, may I continue, Steve, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Kane.
Okay, just for fun, you guys all know my answer. So, on the count of 3, we're all going to yell my favorite kill as loud as you can. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sleeping bag!
Sleeping bag.
Wheelchair down the stairs back.
Anytime you kill Griff is good. He's great. The sleeping bag kill is good.
Why is this question got to go to Steve?
How proud are you being the real first Jason that these other 5 men have gotten the opportunity to play such an iconic character?
I'm going to be very,
Try
very
to give a straight answer one time, just once.
I'm all warmed up. Listen to me. And I'm being very honest when I say this. Had I known then what I know now, and knowing these fellas up here, plus the other guys, I dreaded the day that they offered me part 3 and I turned it down. Because being Jason has been, in retrospect, one of the most humbling experiences of my life. When I look out here and I look at 400, 300 people, or I saw 15,000 of you over the weekend, as Ted said, you have no idea what you people have done for me. And I'm 70, I'll be 75 Wednesday. And I got to tell you,
He's cool. There you go, man.
I'm a good guy.
I don't care what you say about his role in Urban
It is an unbelievable experience that I've met these men on the stage with me, and you fans. It's amazing what you people know about us. I'm serious. It's amazing when you come up to my table. I don't know you, never seen you before, or you've come to see me many times, and you know what you know. It is a very, very humbling experience for me, being Jason.
Maybe each of you can kind of elaborate on that, because that's actually really good about what it means to you to be able to portray Jason and have this legacy behind you, even though you each put your own spin on it. That's good.
Let's start with Steve.
I want to stay serious on that, because it really, I didn't take it very seriously when I first did it. You know, I said, well, this is not going to be, it's a piece of shit movie, it's never going to happen. You know, why do I do 3? I was on the Guiding Light with Kevin Bacon, and I was working, and I was doing filming. If I'd have known then, like I said, what I know now, I would have worked part 3 for nothing. Maybe. Now you can go.
Well, no, there's more to it than that. Playing Jason is no great big deal, number one. It's just a piece of stuff that's written on paper about people doing things they shouldn't do that they can be put in jail for, and that's killing people. Well, that's just part of it. And if you make a big thing out of it, and that's what we're doing here right now, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, I've been dead and killed probably 50 times in the motion picture business. By every way you can think of, by knife, gun, by hanging, drug, name it, I've been killed that way. I never looked back and said, boy, I'm sorry I took this business so seriously. I took the business seriously because I was starving to death and I needed the money to feed my family. Now, Jason, Friday the 13th, doing that was the same way. I took it to feed my family. I wasn't working, and I had done some big films prior to that, but I wasn't working then, and when you're not working in Hollywood and you have a chance to go to work, you take it. Doesn't make any difference if it's Friday the 13th. And Friday the 13th was no big deal. It wasn't something that I was scared of. It wasn't something that I'd heard anything about. As a matter of fact, I'd never even seen it. But I have two sons that knew exactly what it was all about. And when I told them, they said, Dad, you're going to love every minute of it. That's the greatest experience in the world. Wait till you see what happens after you finish the show. You people sitting here tonight are telling me the truth about it.
Kane?
Oh, go ahead.
You know, for me, 1986, it was unexpected. It's still unexpected. Fortunate, blessed. I get to look at you with sincerity and say thank you. You know, Dave, thank you for bringing us in for the panels. But every one of these guys up here deserves, a round of applause for everything they've done over the years. And it just happens. And Mr. White will tell you, over 200 motion pictures and televisions, and everybody knows him because of the Jason character. So his sons were correct. You know, but is it a big deal? It is to you, and we appreciate being part of that big deal. So thank you.
And I have to say, you know, early films, the character wasn't as widely known as it became by the time I started playing the character. When Ken did it, we knew how the following was already. So I'm sure you feel the same way, Ken. I felt honored to be able to play the character, wanted to do everything I could to do it justice. So, I mean, you know, it's been life-changing. Being known as anything in the film business is good. And especially coming from a stunt background, you are used to being in the background. You do some of the most difficult things on a film, and it's very often not talked about. And to be able to get some kind of recognition is not what you strive for when you're doing stunts, but when it happens, I think you tend to appreciate it more because you never expected it. And, you know, I think that's basically how I would describe it for me.
Yeah, it was definitely a gift at the end of a long, 30-plus year career as a stuntman for it to happen to me. And to be honest, when it did happen, even when we started filming, I did not know what a big deal it was. And then people started coming up to me and saying, have you looked on the internet? Have you done this? Have you done that? And I'm like, no. It just was another suit job to me. I always say this, I go, I'm not famous. Jason is. Jason is generational. He's multi-generational. There's new fans coming out all the time. And I think I honestly, yes, just feel blessed that I stumbled into it, and I have all you people to thank, and I thank you so much.
Every one of us will echo the same things because when we're a stuntman, what we're doing is trying to make our actor look good, and we're not expecting to get credit for something because you're a stuntman trying to do your part in the movie. And there's been many times when you're on a show and you say, this is going to be great, I can't wait, this is going to come out, they're going to love it. I doubled John Travolta on his second show with Olivia Newton-John. I knew that was going to be big. Anybody here of Two of a Kind? And all these movies, well, at any rate, all these movies you do, and when I started this one, like everyone else, I had no idea it was going to be really important to anybody particularly. And you do these films as a job, and you're really trying to do your part. There's a lot to think about when you're doing a stunt job. You've got to look like the actor, you got to make it work, you got to be safe, and you got to do it as few takes as you can. So you have all this stuff going on, and you don't sit back and say, oh, I can't wait till 10 years from now I'll have fans coming up to me asking for an autograph. That's the furthest thing from your mind. And this is it's a real surprise to us, because when we leave for the weekend and we're back home, we're just regular guys, regular people. At least I am, At any rate, no, it's the truth. You are the ones that make us, important at all. So we thank you.
many ways that you can be grateful for life.
No, I'm in the room.
This is my way. I got called to go into a wardrobe fitting down in Los Angeles, and they have a big place down there that you can go in and you get the studio furnishes all the clothes for what you're going to do. And the guy's fitting me in clothes, and he said, well, you're wearing these clothes, you're about the same size as this guy you're doubling. And I said, well, who's that? And he said, this guy called John Wayne. Well, I had only been in the business a short time. This was 1956, 57. And I said, are you kidding me? This are the real John Wayne? He said, they're not a dead one. He said, yeah. Well, and they were going to Tucson, Arizona. Now, I don't know about you guys out there and the ladies too. John Wayne is a name that everybody in the country respects as a citizen, as a man that loved his country, red, white, and blue from his toes to his nose, and drank bourbon like it was water. But a wonderful guy and loved by everybody. And for me to be told that I was going to be able to double John Wayne, I was only, I think at that time, 31 years old. I was thrilled to death, and I couldn't wait to get on the set. We were shooting in Tucson, Arizona. So on a Friday morning, a Monday morning rather, I went to the wardrobe there, and they said, well, you're putting his clothes on today. And they fitted me in his clothes, and then they gave me a white duster to go over the clothes. And they said, just keep these on, and don't show the other clothes until you're necessary, until you have to double Wayne. And I said, well, okay. And I said, when is he going to come to work? And they said, he's standing right behind you. And he was. He was about 2 feet behind me. And he says, what's your name, kid? And I said, Ted White. And he said, Ted, nice to meet you. You play, what is it? I can't think of it, where you've got the 24 pieces on the chest. You play chess. And I said, no, I don't play chess. He said, well, you're off my list right now. Well, anyway, that day was the first day that I had a chance to double him. And that was the day that I said, I will never forget, here's a man that everybody in the country loves. And he's tough as a boot and kind as he can be. And at night, he can get as drunk as any of us and have a great time. But to me, the thrill of all of motion picture business was to meet him for the first time and to be able to work with him. That was the beginning of the thrill that's lasted for the last 60 years. It included Clark Gable, Victor Mature, Rod Hudson, just run on down the line to all the tall, big names in the business. I had a great life and a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say something that has really nothing to do with Friday the 13th, but hopefully you'll appreciate this. That in my career, I've done a lot of what Ken refers to as suit work, like he has, like Tom has. Heavy prosthetics every day. You got to be in makeup for 4 hours before you start to shoot for the day. I did Deep Space Nine a lot with Tom. And we'd be in makeup at 2 a.m. to be ready to shoot at 6 a.m. And we'd shoot till 9 p.m. sometimes. That's a long day. So those of us that have done a lot of work in suits appreciate the work that goes into it. And this is why I'm so disappointed in the response to a movie called The Shape of Water. Doug Jones is a suit guy like you wouldn't believe. His performance is unbelievable, and he gets almost no recognition for it. And it's so frustrating that people think, yeah, he's done so many characters. People think, oh, you're in a suit, you're not acting. And that is so far from the truth. And I wish that people would see that more. I did see him at the Oscars when they won the award. He was there, but not one person mentioned him. And it's a shame because you have no idea how fucking hard that is, really.
So, how did you guys get into the business? Like Steve, I know you were a cop. So how did you get into the business of being stuntman?
Well, when I was in the New York City Police Department, I was in it for 11 years. I got hurt in a radio car accident, and they retired me. I didn't want to retire, but they retired me because I had a head injury. They thought I was crazy.
They were right.
Yeah, they were correct.
They were correct.
Listen to my fucking story. Shut up.
My
And
point.
I worked in the 17th precinct in Manhattan, which was like pretty close to the theater district. And I went on a past burglary while I was a cop, and I went into an advertising agency, and the guy said to me, "Hey, you're a pretty good-looking guy." I said, "I know." He said that, Dave, he said that to me. He said I was a pretty good-looking guy. Yeah, I get that shit all the time. I got a nice ass also. Anyway, he says, put your hand down, I'm not done. I'll call on you when we're ready, all right?
Who's funny now?
I went into this advertising, and I had a conversation with the guy, it was a past burglary, and he said, you're a pretty good-looking guy. You ever think about doing some commercials? And I said, no, I never did, And I left there, and then when they retired me after my accident, I said, you know what, I'm going to look this guy up. And I went back to the advertising agency, and he remembered me, and he said to me, I'm going to send you to a photographer. He sent me to a photographer for photos, and they took a bunch of photos, and he put me in a Right Guard commercial. And that's how I got into the acting business, networking with other actors. And when I got on a film called Nighthawks, Dar Robinson was the stunt coordinator, Cliff Cudney was the assistant stunt coordinator, and he said to me, you'd make a good stuntman. I said, I don't want to do that. I want to be an actor. I want to get an Academy Award. Anyway, I found out that stuntmen made more money than actors, and he was willing to teach me. So he taught me how to be a stuntman, and that's how I got into it.
While I was in college, I started dreaming about doing stunts. I'm not sure what set me off, or I think it was the stunt show at Universal Studios. I said that would be amazing to make a living doing stuff like that. So I researched and found a stunt school in Santa Monica that I didn't officially attend, but it was there, if I recall, it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I would go there Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to this gym. It was a boxing gym, really, but it was also a stunt school. On those off days, the stunt people that were in the school would be trained. So I kind of went on those days and just tried to pick up some tips and stuff from the people that were already more into the business than I was. And what I find is really ironically fascinating is that Tom Morga was in that school. And how bizarre is it that the two of us were in that little stunt school together in 1975, and then we ended up both playing the same character. I think that's pretty amazing.
You're up, Aaron.
I'm up. Oh, how did it happen? Well, I just fell into it. Actually,
try that again.
Actually,
it'll work better this time.
Okay, you ready? Ask me.
It's your turn, you're up.
No, ask me how I became a stuntman.
I didn't have to talk in my part. Anyway, how did you become a stuntman?
I just fell into it. We need to do it again. Actually, I was in college. I was going to get a degree in biology. I was working for the Forest Service, and I was kind of an outdoors guy, and I liked action and stuff. So I was fighting forest fires for the U.S. Forest Service as a smoke jumper. And how many people know what a smoke jumper is? Not many. Well, when you fight fire out in wilderness areas, the best way to get to it is in an airplane, and the only way you get from the fire to the airplane is to jump out with a parachute. So they invented this idea of firefighters who could parachute, and I trained for that, and I was doing it in Montana. And they were making a movie, a TV show from years ago called Wild Kingdom. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, and they had this series in this episode where they're going to save wild buffalo for a forest fire. They went to the Smoke Jumper Center, and they used a bunch of us to do the jumps and then be in the fire line, etc. And all of a sudden I realized, hey, I'm doing a TV show. I must be a stuntman. I went back down to LA and I talked to the guys at the Universal Studios tour, and they told me about this stunt school that Kane was talking about. So I went over there a couple years before Kane, and I was working in that school, learned what to do, and I never turned back. So I just did it that way. And that's how I met Kane.
You know, honestly, for me, I was not a stunt man. I had never been to stunt school. I didn't know the first thing about it. I was rambunctious, young, given a job, told to do it, and I just kind of followed the orders. But I was fortunate enough that the OJT, on-the-job training, I had people like Tom or Kane or Ken that made sure I stayed in one piece. But when I did all my own stunts, and I did do them all, I'd never done a stunt before in my life, let alone been in front of a camera. I had a Screen Actors Guild card. So of all these gentlemen, I'm probably, the odd one, more than Steve would like to admit, that actually picked it up and just took the job and ran with it. So a while back, Kane found out that I'd never been to stunt school or had any stunt experience, and he was kind of flabbergasted. But it happened. And it does, when you say things happen sometimes and you just get lucky, you're looking at it. So, again, it was a very simple process to me, but looking back on it, like Steve Dasher said, don't ever cut yourself short. You did the job, I think you did it well, and that's why we're here talking about it. Right.
I want to hear how Ted did it.
Wake up, Ted. Your time.
I don't even know what you're talking about. He just was born into it. No, I was not a car salesman. I was a used car manager.
You can't do it now.
Excuse me.
It's easy.
one step ahead of a salesman. And I met a guy named Roy Clark, still alive today, in the late 90s. Wonderful guy, worked all his life as an extra. And in the latter part of his life, I'd say after he hit 45 or 50, he started trying to do stunts. And he was an average stuntman. He wasn't a great one, but he was a good average stuntman, all-around utility man. Could do just about anything they asked for. And he came by one day to buy a car, and I was lucky enough to meet him and got him into a new Mercury. And then he used to come by every week and say hello to me and have lunch and say, why don't you come up to the studio and watch some days? And I said, well, I don't know how to get in and so forth. And he said, well, we're going to shoot a picture with Mamie Van Dorn in Western next week. And he said, I'll leave a pass for you at the gate. So he called me and said, I got a pass at the gate, come on out. Well, I was in a suit and tie, and I went out, and it was Mamie Van Dorn. And the guy that did this stunt, I don't know his name. You might remember his name later on in the story. He wore a toupee. And he mixed his own stuff with the toupee, and he put flour and water together for a glue to put on his head. And when he would ride bulls, bucking bulls, the thing used to fly up and fly back down. So everybody loved him and talked about him. And I met him. He was a stuntman. And he was a stuntman on this show. And he said, Ted, he said, your size and everything, have you ever done anything athletic? And I said, the only thing I've ever done athletic is I played football at Oklahoma. And I did a little boxing. And he said, I think you could make it. He said, why don't you go down and get a card and get an extra card and start in the studios and see what it's like to work as an extra. Well, I didn't do that. I watched another show the guy was putting on with Mamie Van Dorn, and the first assistant director was called Howard Koch, who later became the president of Paramount Studios. And they had a guy riding up on a horse, and he would rope the guy that was standing on the porch, and down the rope around the saddle, and jerked him off the porch. Well, they rode up 5 times and missed him 5 times, and the guy's standing still, completely still. And Howard Koch was screaming at him and said, we can't waste any more money. Why can't we get this done? And Guy Roy Clark that brought me out walked over to him and said, see the guy over there in the suit? Yeah, I said, he can do that. So he called me over and he said, can you rope? And I said, yeah, I can rope. And he said, where do you come from? I said, Texas. He said, well, I'm going to send you down, get your clothes changed, put the same clothes on, and get back up there. So they sent me a wardrobe. This was all in about an hour. I came back, got on the horse. I didn't know the first thing about what I was supposed to do other than ride up on the horse, rope this guy, dolly around the saddle horn, and jerk him off the porch. Well, he's come running down the porch, and I come up on the horse, and I'm really hobbling. I came up and I threw that rope, and I got it around his waist. I dollied on the horn, I jerked him 6 feet in the air. And Howard Todd said, well, that's great, but you nearly killed the actor. that was my indoctrination into stunt business and the motion picture business. And from that, he got me in the Extras Guild, and I worked there for a week and a half before I gave him back the car. They let me be the coach for a week and a half. My wife wouldn't let me come in at night because I stink so bad. So I quit. But that's how I got started in business.
I read an article when I was 12 years old. I read an article about Hal Needham. And I love watching TV and movies and all that kind of stuff. And I read this article about this stuntman, and pretty famous in Hollywood. And I thought, I think I would really like to do that. And I tucked it away in the back of my brain for years and years and years. And I went on. I got into university. I played university basketball. And I thought, I got a better chance of playing pro sport if I switch over to football. As soon as I switched over to football, I blew my knee out. And, I was pretty disappointed. But I had a sister living in Los Angeles. And I said, I'm going to go down and visit her. I'm looking into becoming a stuntman. She lived next door to the property master for the TV series called Fall Guy. And so I got introduced to him, and he introduced me to a couple of the stunt guys on that show. And, they knew some stunt guys back in Vancouver, Canada, which is where I was from, and where there was no film industry really to speak of at the time. I mean, the odd show used to come up and stuff like that. And but I got back to Vancouver, I called up these stunt guys, and I started hanging out with them. And I think it was about 3 weeks later, we got a job on Superman 3 in Alberta, which was the first movie I ever worked on. And I came onto set, and I really didn't know much at all. The stunts were pretty easy. They were blowing up the corner of a building, and so I managed to pull that off. And Armstrong, he was a British stunt coordinator, 2 brothers, and he came up to me and he goes, you're a really good double for Christopher Reeves. And I said, yeah, thanks. And we got a double on this one, but we're thinking about coming back to Canada for the next one, and would you be interested? I said, yeah, sure. And I never did get to, I doubled Christopher Reeves a couple times further down the road, but I didn't get to double him on the next Superman movie. But that was my first job as a stuntman, and I was still in university, and I would go to school and have exams and stuff like that, and I'd get a job, and I'd leave and go do some stunt work and come back and try and catch up on all my exams and papers and all that kind of stuff. About my 3rd year, I just said, why am I doing this? I mean, I was making a living as a stuntman. So I quit university and I didn't get back.
All right, let's get some
You said lady in the back, so we'll do that, but we're gonna wrap it up here because these guys.
Yeah, we gotta wake this guy up. He's gonna fall on his ass all day. He's falling asleep. You're either tired you're probably tired of listening to Ken because he's so freaking melodic. Well, get awake, goddammit. What have you been doing? Taking drugs? Close your pants, by the way. Are you awake now? Where'd you come from?
He's pretty kick-ass.
Where? Australia? All right, there we go. It's Australia, all right, mate.
So go ahead and close the show. Call on the young lady. She was over here.
Yeah, lady, what do you got?
Hey, lady.
Lady, make sure you speak up, too.
No offense to Ken, but how did you feel when he took over the Freddy vs. Jason part?
Say it again, I didn't hear you.
No offense to Ken, but how did you feel when he took your Freddy vs. Jason part?
What'd you say? What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
That's not cool.
I believe it's directed towards me.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be directed to me?
It's not a good way to end.
Because you'll talk and swear and insult people. So.
I won't this guy.
We almost got through the entire panel.
You want me to answer it?
Yeah,
You want me to answer it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can probably, it's the business, sincerely. You know, I was slotted to do 7, Kane picked it up. Okay, thank you, did a great job. Somebody's slotted to do something, gets picked up. It's the business, it is what it is. Everybody's in competition, it's no different than sports. I want to be the quarterback. Sometimes you got to sit the bench, all right? Sometimes you're still the best candidate, but the coach makes the decision. Coach made a decision. You know, coach made a decision to go with Kane in part 7.
Instead of him, and he did a fine job
That's why I
too.
say I can answer the question, because it's the business. There's no personal conflict, or there's no I did this or I did that. It just happened. So, I mean, you can answer the question differently if you want, but I don't really think there's a more sincere answer than it's
He
the
was
business.
pissed off, he can't.
Shut up, I'm talking.
He talked to Kane for 5
I'm learning
years.
how to be like you. Sit down.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, you are sitting.
Let's tell the truth there. We got 5 times.
Are those your arms or your ankles? Bring it.
As a matter of fact,
Shut it
was
down,
about-
King.
I know what it is. Go ahead, tell me. Go ahead.
Kane's like,
I mean, I was surprised that after doing 4 films in a row, I was surprised that I was replaced, but as CJ's saying, I mean, that shit happens all the time, and looking from Ken's point of view, they tell him, hey,
What's
we'd
your
like
point of
you,
view? What's your point of view?
they say, we'd like you to play Jason. What do you think? What's he gonna say? No, that's Kane's part. Of course not. But I was very surprised because I thought I had the job, because I was given the script at a lunch meeting and was told we're finally doing this movie. So I'm not sure what transpired after that, but I believe I was given that meeting before the director came on board, and you know, so things didn't work out. But I mean, unfortunately, that's how this business can be. It can be very rewarding, and they're very cutthroat for other people, and so that's just how it is.
Okay, guys, at the end of this, if you can all kind of stand up and stand together, and people can kind of get photos. But I just want to you know, for everybody, these are guys that we know them particularly for possibly one role, and as you've heard, they've played countless roles and never really gotten any credit. So how about we close this with a lot of credit to these guys and a big round of applause.